we're on a new adventure today, and this is what we're doing.
Yes, today we're going on an adventure to, we're going to go to the actual location of the Kintzler Murder site. It's on private property, so we can't show you how to get there, but it's on a mile stretch of 235 on the Troxelville side of the mountain. This is a case that's really kind of close to my heart because I started a family history for Paul Moyer in the Beavertown area, and eventually got over to this side of the family. This is not his direct line or Roger Moyer's direct line. They're cousins, Uriah and Jonathan, who partook in this gruesome crime of killing the Kintzlers on this one night. I believe it was, without looking, December 8th, 1877. Several community members came and killed this family, John and Gretchen Kintzler. And then they came back again when they realized that they were probably going to get caught, and did some things and then lit the cabin on fire. As far as we know, this is the first time that this site has ever been filmed, and nobody's been back there other than just a few historians. So we're going to catch for the very first time the Kintzler Murder site on film and bring it to you. As a back note, like I said, we cannot show you the actual how to get there because the actual location is on private property. But we did want to be able to bring it to you. And then after that, we'll be headed down to the Snyder County Historical Society to see the gallows where the perpetrators were hung, and so forth. And we'll have a little bit more of a bio on the situation at that time. But right now we're psyched. We're getting ready to go to the Kintzler Murder site. It is in Adams Township, Snyder County, and it was one of the largest, it is the largest murder case and trial and history in Snyder County's history. And like I said, it's kind of close to my heart because I had written a letter to the township and the Historical Society talking about just how unfair I thought it was that the Kintzlers still are in an unmarked grave in the Troxelville Union Cemetery. And it just doesn't seem quite right that they don't have some kind of a marker. I wrote several letters. I will include a copy of my letter along with the description for this video. We will include a picture of the old jail in the yard where they were hung in the backyard, and the township, Middleburg, actually sold tickets. They brought their whole families to watch the hanging of Jonathan and Uriah Moyer in the backyard there near the courthouse. So we're going to include a lot of documentation along with this. We hope you enjoy this video. We'll be back in a little bit, and thank you. I hope you enjoyed this video. Ready? Yep. Very serene area for something that happened here so long ago. This is the site where the Kintzlers were murdered. I wanted to get back here and find it. They're getting ready to install a pond here, and this area here won't exist very much longer. But this is where the tragic massacre, where the Kintzler family were murdered, right here in this area. Seems rather serene and tranquil now, but 100 and some years ago, this was the site of a savage murder perpetrated by several members of the community, the Erb family, the Eddingers, and the Moyers. But we wanted to get it on our film. Right now we're in front of the Snyder County Historical Society. As a backdrop before we get in there, because it's a library and we might not be able to talk while we're in there, the gallows are in here, the rope, the shroud that Uriah Moyer wore when he was hung. There were several families involved in the murder. It was the Eddinger family, the Moyer family, and the Erb family. A member from each, or in the case of the Moyers, two. Jonathan and Uriah, which were both hung. The gallows in here hung Jonathan first. Then it was disassembled and then reassembled when they finally caught up with Uriah and brought him back. He had run out west. The shroud for Uriah is in here, and the change they found on the floor, the money that all these people went there thinking that the Kintzlers had a lot of money, kind of like the Lutzes out in the one that Truman Capote wrote about. It was the same deal. They thought they had lots of money in the house. They went in and then found out there wasn't any money there. But there was some change found on the floor of the cabin after it was burned. And you'll see that in here as well. I just want to make sure I cover everything. Both Moyer boys were hung and were buried out at the Gray Squirrel campsite on private property. Okay, Mr. Ettinger had somebody sneak some cyanide into him at the jail, and he died. And he was buried on an unmarked grave on his family's property. And Israel Erb died in the penitentiary, an old man. But that's what happened to them, we're here at the Snyder County Historical Society, about to go in and film some of this interesting artifacts from the murder and one of the largest murders in Snyder County history. Film that whole area there as the Kintzler Murder site, like I said, we've got a couple of different things. Of course, we got footage from down here at the jail, where they were both hung in the backyard. Yeah. And
well, I'll give you a tidbit of information. My great-grandfather was the sheriff at the time. He did the investigation.
Yes. You know, because Gretchen begged for her life.
Yeah.
Okay, she says, somebody's going to tell. Okay, or something like that. And I guess they went back. I don't know if an axe was used or not, but I know that when they discovered the bodies in the burnt cabin, it was quite clear that they didn't die that way. You know what I mean? Because burning is one thing, but you don't die with a black mark or a piece of lid missing or something like that. I guess they tried to they went back, remember? They went back and tried to hide what they did. And then finally, in the end, just decided to light the whole place on fire.
Sure.
And they did that on the 9th. It was the 9th that the neighbors came over and saw that the place was on fire. And it was all because Mr. Erb had a problem with him. You know what I mean? Mr. Erb had a problem with the Kintzlers. It was like a beef. They lived very close to each other, and he had his barn on their side of the street. It's right there as you're going up the hill, Troxelville Mountain. And they just had a squabble and stuff like that. So he said something to this Mr. Ettinger guy, who's a really bad guy. Yeah. This guy, when they told him that he was guilty, when the jury came back, they said he lost composure or pallor for a moment, composed himself, and then spit. That was his response to the judge or the jury saying guilty. But then he still was a coward and took strychnine, so he had somebody sneak him in strychnine to the prison. Yeah. I've been studying this for a while.
Well, see, you should write up whatever paperwork you got.
Oh yeah, well most of it came from here. I just memorized it.
Yeah, but the thing is that we should have it all together in one story.
And I just wrote you guys a letter several months ago, and to the township, saying that I thought that it would be a good idea. And so do the people that the land that it happened on also agree with me. There should be some kind of a memorial, but they shouldn't be in an unmarked grave at the Troxelville Union Cemetery. And she said, well, we know a stone cutter or somebody right here in Snyder County that would probably be interested or donate a stone. Yeah. To something like that. Right. I said, well, this would be good for the Historical Society. This would be good for
you register it with the state.
Yeah, well,
they put up a plaque.
Well, whatever they decide to do, you know what I mean. But you got to have public interest. Right. And I sent a letter over here where they had to sign for it too, the township. But they didn't. Township never responded. The newspapers never printed it. Yeah. And I thought it was because
not telling who you know.
And also because there's just the Erb family, the Ettinger. Yes, as a metaphor.
Well, let me finish.
Go
My
ahead.
great-grandfather was in charge of the hanging and building, having someone build the gallows. And when it came time for the first hanging, he said, "I will not appoint anyone. It's my job." And he pulled the
Yes.
lever in the back for both of them. And they, what I've heard through the family is that he was never right after that.
Yeah.
After killing two guys that way, he was
Well,
never.
I think it was only Jonathan and Uriah who ever showed any sign of contrition about what had happened. Yeah, they had to chase him. Well, you know what I mean? Yeah, they had to go out west to find them and bring them back. But they're the only two that ever showed any kind of remorse for what had happened. Israel really didn't, but he dies an old man in prison. I think his name is Israel or Israel. Yeah, it has to be Israel. And Herb. And Ettinger kills himself, you know, and the other two are hung up, you know, up the street here.
Yeah.
But it's, they sold tickets.
Yeah, there's a ticket here.
Okay. Let me go over here. Yeah, they sold tickets and brought their families and everybody. You know what I mean? Yes. Remember how I told you they sold tickets to it?
You want to take a picture?
Sheriff's tickets. Yes,
Oh, you're recording.
yes, go ahead. Are you recording all this? Oh, you're the bomb. I love this kid. But you're going to have to ask his permission though now.
Is that okay?
You have my permission.
There's the cups that he wore.
No, but these are
A representation of what?
handcuffs of the sheriff and the deputies back at the time that this was happening.
Wow.
Now I doubt that these are related,
Yeah.
but
It is a good representation of the
and
time
then
period.
I went to a clockmaker repair guy over in Union County.
How to make a key.
And he fit me a key,
That's
and he gave it to us. He donated it to us.
that is
So
remarkable.
that, you know, that's kind of a nice little piece.
And that's the shroud that Uriah
The shroud right
that,
there.
that Uriah wore. Because I think they were more prepared for Uriah's from a memorabilia than Jonathan. Because remember, they disassemble the gallows in between, they hang Jonathan, and they take the gallows apart, not knowing if they're going to need them again.
Right.
And then they reassemble them again when they catch up with Uriah and bring him
Right.
back. And I just know that that's the rope that hung Uriah. I can't say it's the one that got Jonathan because, like I said, they were more ready for Uriah than they were for Jonathan. They did Jonathan and then they sat down and they weren't sure if they were ever going to catch up with Uriah. But they put it all together there sorry, you know what I mean, for Uriah, for the second one. They put it all back together. But he was bummer. I have his will. I found his will at the courthouse. I guess I'll send a copy down here so that you guys have it here. But it's the one they did a day or two before he's hung. So of course it's not really reflective. I guess somebody has to help him because he didn't know how to write. But he makes his makes his mark on it. It basically says he's leaving everything to Lucy. Of course, the house has already been burnt down by this time because the community burnt down their house and kind of retaliation for what they had done to the Kintzlers. So that house was burnt down. That's right across from the Gray Squirrels campsite. That lot is still empty, and you can see where the cabin used to sit.
Is that right?
Yes.
I should go up there metal detecting.
You should. You should. It's right across the street. You'll see there's a greenhouse, and then there's a lot before it and a lot after it. And it's remained empty. But one of them even looks like there was a building there at one time.
Like a metal detector.
Yes. Yes. So that's there, and that's right across the street from the entrance to the Gray Squirrel campsite. You'll see it. You can't miss it. There's a spot where it looks like there's actually a structure at one time.
I've driven by it 100 times.
Yes. Because that's where I went first. It's just that I had help of Paul Moyer's family, and he wanted to actually know what all this was about. So I had to do the Moyers, and I started with an obituary, and then I could come here or go to the courthouse, and I get their and everything, and then I go home, and I have to go back out and then get their obituaries for their parents. You know how it works.
Yeah.
And I go back as far as I can.
You have more knowledge
Well,
put together than in order to get the knowledge you had to research here for weeks.
Well, I got everything you
We
have
have a
here.
whole book. We have
Yes.
a whole book on the Kintzler Murder still
Yes.
on that bottom shelf there, and I think we had a program on it at one time. I mean,
Yeah.
not that we couldn't
We
have
did.
another one, certainly.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, but like I said, I thought it was an interesting story, And actually, when I went to the land and to film there where the thing happened, that family and the family that owns the old Israel herb home all seem interested in getting a monument for the Kintzlers and having it erected at the Troxelville. So they seem to show an interest.
You keep pushing this.
I will.
Keep pushing this.
That's what I'm. That's. Well, I mean, come on. I mean, the Lutzes got one. You know who I mean, right?
Yeah.
The Lutzes took them 35 years, but the Lutzes finally got a monument in the cemetery.
Yeah.
You know about what happened, because it's the same storyline. The guys went in there thinking that they had money, and of course, they ended up doing something very, very bad. It's in this yard that they hung both Jonathan and Uriah Moyer. Of course, the wall there, that gray wall, wasn't there, and the yard kind of came down to where we're at now. But this is the original jail for Middleburg, and it was here that they hung both Uriah and Jonathan. Jonathan first, and then when they caught up with Uriah, they hung Uriah. But they hung him right out back here. They invited the whole town. They invited kids, children. They set up picnics and everything right around this yard right here and hung them both. Just wanted to include this in our video. And like I said, this is the original Middleburg prison. It's now a house, but we just wanted to include this in our video. All right, go ahead, shut it off. Here we are at the conclusion of our video for the day. We're in the Troxelville Union Cemetery in Troxelville, PA. We came here because we wanted to show where we believe that the Kintzlers were buried. There wasn't a whole lot left after they were kind of hurt or axed or pummeled, and then the house was burnt down. So there wasn't a lot left, and what they did have, they just put in a box and buried in the corner of the cemetery. So this is where we believe that they're at, but of course it's an unmarked grave, which kind of seems unfortunate after, them kind of representing the county for so very long. Even when it comes to the museum's sake, its memorabilia pretty much dedicated to the memory of that incident in their county's history. So we wanted to make sure that we included this in our video, and this will be the conclusion of this video, and we hope you stay tuned for more. And thank you very, very much for your participation.